as a whole, I think microtransactions have to exist in some form.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, welcome to discussion number 2. So we're here today to talk about a hot topic that's been going around for a few months, and I've been meaning to put this video out to give you guys my opinions and my thoughts on what's going on with the world of video games and microtransactions. So if you see me looking down real quick, it's just because I'm looking at some notes. I didn't want to miss anything that I wanted to get across to you guys and give my opinions. And if you guys want to have a discussion on what I think and what you guys think, feel free to leave comments down below. That's what this is. So let's get into it. So this has been happening for a lot of years now. At least 3 or 4 companies are coming out here with microtransactions, and basically, for people who don't know what microtransactions are, they'll release. It's either going to be a free-to-play game or a regular $40, $60 game, whatever it is, and you buy the game, but then when you play the game, there's little pieces of content in the game that you could actually buy for more money. $2, $1, $5, $8. And the biggest thing that evolves around microtransactions that people don't like is loot boxes. And loot boxes are basically a random chance of you getting an item. So say that the company has 100 different items in the game that you can pay for. Some games do it where you can just outright buy the content you're looking for. Let's say you want a rare armor piece or something. You can pay $3 for that and be done with it. Other companies are doing loot boxes, and this has become more apparent in the last year or so, where now instead of being able to buy the content you want, now there's loot boxes in the game where you get a random chance of basically getting the content that you want. So they'll put all 100 pieces in there. They'll give the rare ones a real small chance of coming up. You roll the die. You buy a loot box. You spin it. It has a cool little animation. You get something out of it. And if it's a duplicate, they usually give you some sort of like coin or something for the game to use as crafting parts or something to maybe be able to build something. It all depends on how the game is, but basically the gist of it is loot boxes are a random chance of possibly getting something you want, and you will get duplicates, and 95% of the games, the way that they've done it that way is you will get duplicates. Let's get into my quick thoughts about how this is all running. So, first of all, I don't like loot boxes. That's for sure. Unless if loot boxes, and this gets a little bit trickier, just strictly cosmetic, but even then, I much rather like the way Blizzard handles it with their games like Overwatch. Actually, is Overwatch? Yeah, Overwatch is actually strictly cosmetic, where you just get a loot box and, you know, it randomizes it. Like I said before, you get a random chance, and, you know, you get some either, you know, a new speak line for your character or a new costume or something like that. So it's all cosmetic. It doesn't affect the gameplay at all. It's all cosmetic stuff. I still obviously prefer that they do it the other way, which is also done by Blizzard, which is in games such as Heroes of the Storm, where they have an option of just outright buying the content that you're looking for. So they'll charge $8 for like the epic costume that you may be looking for, and you just buy that outright. There's no loot boxes. You just pay $8. That's the microtransaction. That's the cosmetic DLC that you bought, and that's it. So those are the two ways that I kind of like it. I still obviously prefer the first one, like I said, but the second one isn't bad as long as they stick to cosmetic stuff only. That doesn't actually affect gameplay. Where things become a little bit weird is some of the games now are starting to do, well, they're not going to probably do this anymore considering the uproar that had happened. We'll take Battlefront 2 as the example that everyone obviously used. Back when the game first came out, they had loot boxes, but their loot boxes were not just cosmetic. They had something in there called star cards. Star cards were like basically power boosts that you put on characters that you're using in the game, and they give you, like, let's say as an example, 2% boost to your speed, 2% boost to your accuracy, something like that. And they were all random chance. So you can have somebody who's played obviously, you know, 100 hours go in there, and he hasn't gotten a certain card, and I'll roll in there and get really extremely lucky, get a rare card, that gives me 5% accuracy boost, and I'll have an advantage over that person who's been playing for a lot longer than me. So it wasn't based on gameplay that your skill was, it was based on random loot boxes giving you those star cards. We'll get into what has happened with Battlefront here in a little bit, but that's how Battlefront was doing it, and that is not going to fly with most people, and it's definitely not going to fly with me. You can't have advantages in the game, you know, come across where you're doing loot boxes or microtransactions that are giving people advantages in the game. That's not going to fly with anyone. Don't do it. If any companies are paying attention to this video, don't do it, because it's not going to fly with anyone. You saw the controversy that caused with Battlefront 2. It will happen again if someone tries it again. It's just not going to work. So, that being said, though, as a whole, I think microtransactions have to exist in some form. Now, before everyone starts going crazy, pay attention. Games have been, and you know the story, games have been $60 for a long time. They used to be $50, and they raised up a few years back. They raised up to from 50 to 60, and had been 60 for a long time now. And no matter what you guys think, games have risen in cost. And yes, they sell more copies of games now because there's a lot of people out there that are obviously buying games more than probably 7 years ago that they used to, because there's a lot more gamers, it seems like, out there now. But games are way more expensive to make. And games like the Battlefront 2 and stuff, you see that you guys, obviously, everybody wanted more content and stuff, and games are just a lot more costly, especially when it involves licenses and stuff. More importantly, when it involves a game that's going to live as a service. And I think that's kind of where, like, I expect microtransactions more nowadays than I would. If it's a single-player game, and we're just talking about, hey, here's an 8-hour game, I don't really see a purpose. Like Shadow of War, there's no reason to have microtransactions in the game except they just wanted more money. That's plain and simple what they wanted. They were just looking for more. That was a straight single-player game. They had some online components, but that wasn't needed. And luckily, you could still play the game without it. There was a little bit of grind at the end, but you could still play the game without it. But there's no reason for microtransactions in single-player games or loot boxes or any of that stuff. But I understand why they do it, because they need more money, because the game is costing so much. And even though we're paying $60, just look at how fast, games are dropping in price. Everyone out here is now like, oh yeah, the game came out last week. Let me just wait 2 or 3 weeks, and it's going to be half off for $40 in like a couple of weeks here. Well, let's go to Best Buy and use my Gamers Unlock program, and instead of paying $60, now it's $48. So, on top of the fact that games haven't risen up, there's a lot of discounts that are happening extremely quickly, where with not every game, but a lot of the games are dropping in price really quickly compared to what they used to. So all these companies are out there trying to figure out how to make more money. And if you want games, especially, not the single player stuff as much, but I still understand why they do it, like I just mentioned. But more importantly, are the games are now being called live as a service, or live as service games. So those games are like the Destiny 2s, Battlefront 2, games like that are telling you, hey, we're going to release this game now. It's going to cost you $60. Here's the promise that we're going to give you free DLC from here to the lifespan of the game. Another good example is Rainbow Six Siege. It's going to be free, and we're going to keep supporting it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however long you guys are playing the game. Now, everyone here didn't like map packs from back in the day. That was never good because it split the player base. Battlefront had it. Battlefield also had it. They come out, they split the Call of Duty, of course, has always done this, and they still do it, and they still get away with it because of how massive that game is, but smaller games ain't going to be able to pull that off, where they release a map pack. Now half the players' base is split. You release another map pack, now it's another half. Now it's split in 3 ways. So now it's going to be harder for you to find games. I'd much rather them take the approach, I don't know about you guys, of them releasing cosmetic DLC. Like I said, I prefer them just letting you buy it, but if not, loot boxes that are giving you cosmetics, as long as there's a good system in place, and they're strictly cosmetic, to let us continue playing those games for years on out, because I'd rather much that than pay for DLC. Battlefront 2, because I keep coming back because that's the freshest one in my mind with the controversy, did it in a good way for right now. So they took all the nonsense that I was talking about earlier in the video. They just released the patch a couple days ago, and now it's all based on progression as far as you're leveling up your character like everyone usually does. You level up your character and you unlock skill points, and you use those skill points to get cosmetics, which are rolling out in April. So there's no more star cards in those. You get the star cards by progressing with your character class, which is how it should have been from the beginning, but it's a good thing that they at least did it. So they took care of that, and now we have, the cosmetic thing. And their promise is they're going to give us some more content, and we're looking forward to Season 2. We're hopefully hearing something soon where they're going to give us more maps and more modes and stuff. But how do you guys expect these companies that are, especially the ones that are doing it outright, correctly the first time, we'll go back to Rainbow Six Siege, that has been giving us free characters and free maps and free modes and stuff. All that content ain't free to make, and these guys are now in the second season of Rainbow Six Siege. How do you expect them to keep making money? They're not going to be living off the sales that they made back then, even if they broke even, or even if they made a lot of money, because, there are the rare cases that games make a lot of money, in the first couple of months of release because the game is just that good and that popular. What about 2 years from now? Those guys are still, releasing updates and releasing game updates. How do you expect those guys to be paid just off the original release that was already only a $60 release that's already being said that is kind of short based on how much it costs to make games nowadays? I just think it's crazy. Something needs to come in between. Either the cost of games are going to rise, which I don't really want, or they're going to release this cosmetic stuff. And for me, I'm not really even a big cosmetic guy. I don't really care. Usually, most of the time, sure, sometimes the game will come along that I actually like to like change my characters up, but for the most part, I don't really care. Overwatch, for example, has all this cosmetic stuff, and yeah, I open up the loot boxes and stuff, and it's cool to see the cosmetics I get, but I never felt that like thrill to go in there and let me go throw, $20 and get these cosmetic stuff to see what I get out of there. It just never felt like something I'd want to do. But it's there if I want it, and there's a lot of people out there that are obviously doing it, even though it's a small percentage at the end of the day. If 5% of that player base is spending money, they're making more money than what they've ever would have had before without having that in there. And that's why it's in there, because people are paying for it, and it makes sense to get the other content for free. If my option is, hey, a game's going to come out, I'm going to get story expansions or DLC expansions for new map packs, new characters like some of these games are doing, and I'm going to let 5% of the player base, because they want to, or even me sometimes, which I have done on occasion, buy a cosmetic piece for $8, $4, $5 to help that game out and progress it along, why not? I got all the other DLC for free. There's no $50 season passes anymore that splits the player base up, and, it's all good. Like I said, loot boxes are my second. It's not that bad as long as it's all cosmetic, but I still wish that they just went the other route. So that's how I feel about this whole thing. But there's more to say, and we're going to use Battlefront 2 as an example again, because this stuff really pisses me off, kind of, looking at Reddit and stuff and seeing people complain is just crazy because it makes no sense. And this is why. Battlefront 2 came out. It was terrible. We talked about why already. Terrible idea, terrible progression system. They should have never done it. They took it out basically 2 days after the game came out, and they kind of didn't let you buy anything. They didn't let you pay real money, so no one was really buying with their real money, but the progression was still screwed because people were earning stuff before other people randomly and being better out on the battlefield. So it was kind of still screwed. Now, people were begging them back then. I saw the comments back then on Reddit. I saw all the people saying it. There were thousands of people saying, if you change this, I would have bought the game. If the game was this, I would have bought it. And this happens many times, I see across the board. People will always come out there and say, if you change it, I would have bought it. If this was different, I would have bought it, blah, blah, blah. You should have never done it this way. Cool, fine. They shouldn't have. Here we are 3 or 4 months later. They literally changed the progression. And this is not something that takes 3 weeks to do. You see how big DICE is. It takes time. They were silent for a while. They were silent for 3 months. Or 4 months, whatever it was. And they changed the whole entire progression system from top to bottom. So everything has been rebuilt, and now the progression system, is the way it should have been as day one. But you still got to give them some credit. They took the feedback, and they still changed it. True, they obviously did it because people complained, but that's the whole point of it. We complained because we wanted them to change it. We wanted them to hear us. I don't know why people are out there complaining, saying like, yeah, but they only changed it because we complained, or else they would have never done it. They shouldn't have done it to begin with. Well, yeah, obviously, they should have never done it to begin with, but they still changed it. They still could have said, I don't care, we made $8 million in sales, and 8 million, they still sold 8 million copies of this game. They could have just said, the hell with it, 5% of those people are going to buy our stuff anyway. We'll still sell them loot boxes, we'll still keep it that way, and, let it run its course because whatever. But they didn't. They changed because people were complaining, and they were obviously looking really bad. So they had to change it because people were complaining. But it's not a bad thing that they change it because we complain. That's exactly what we want. We want these companies to hear us, see if they see something bad, and complain. Should we go crazy and reward them like crazy? No, probably not. But we can at least say that, hey, they did a good thing and they did change it, and that's positive. And then we go into the second effect of it, which is now people now on Reddit are like, oh, it's too little, too late. And like that phrase is always just stupid to me. It's too little, too late. Listen, if you didn't buy the game Battlefront 2 when it came out in November, and there's still people playing, like the player base is still there, and there's still people playing the game, and you didn't buy it in November because you didn't like the way that the progression system worked and how all that stuff was being handled. And now they changed it, and there's still people playing, because there still is, because I still find matches on Xbox and PC all the time, on across all modes. Then why wouldn't you pay for it now? It's not too little too late, because they changed it, they fixed it, they did what you guys asked them to, and now you guys are like, oh, no, it's too little too late, now I don't care, now I moved on. So why were you complaining to begin with? You know what that means to me? I feel like those people are just in the group of pile of people, because there's still people out there. There's obviously real people who are actually pissed off about this. I didn't like it, and I was pissed off about it. But then there's the other people who are just like, oh, yeah, cheer them on. Like, I don't like it either, just joining the bandwagon. They would have never bought Battlefront 2 to begin with. They're just there to complain and stir the pot and stuff, and they were never going to buy it to begin with, because those are now the same people saying, oh, it's too little too late, now I don't care, I'm still not buying it, still screw EA, blah, blah, blah. And listen, EA has definitely messed up a lot in the last few months, or in the last year, or whatever it's been. But they still make good games. They're just making crappy decisions around that circle. And hopefully this Battlefront 2 big controversy helps them with Anthem and their future projects, because everyone still likes to hate on EA and like, oh, I wish EA never existed. You're wrong. EA needs to exist. They still make games that other people aren't making, and they still do good framework of games and good games out there. They just need to stop with the nonsense of like trying to rip people off. If you want to make money, do what you're going to do now. They're going to sell cosmetic DLC, and Star Wars fans are going to go crazy for that stuff. And it's not just Battlefront 2. We're talking about that because that's the latest one, but this goes across all games that do this stuff. Rainbow Six does the same thing. They now have cosmetic DLC and stuff, and they started changing that up and adding loot boxes that are cosmetic. All that stuff. But we need to somehow support them because they've been running this game now for plus 2 years. They're on their third year of releasing characters. And yes, that one's a little bit different because they do also sell a pass. They used to, not anymore, sell a pass for all those characters. So you would just pay $20 or $30 for those season pass characters. And then they also had cosmetic on top of that. But like I said, the companies here need to make money. I don't think microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff like that are going to completely go away, and we're just going to see $60 games, and that's it. It's not going to happen because the money's there. Blizzard sees the money, Activision sees the money. People are buying these things, so they're not going to stop. We just need to make sure they do it in a way where it doesn't affect the rest of us who aren't buying them. It's as simple as that. If people want to buy cosmetic and be a gold shining armor so everyone knows who the hell they are because they spent $40 on some piece of armor to help support the company because they really love the game and they play hundreds of hours, have at it. If it gets me free maps and stuff and free expansions, good. That works even better for me. So that's basically how I feel about it. And that's how I feel about this whole thing. I may have missed a couple things in my head that I wanted to say. But like I said, like this is going to exist. We just need to come to a happy medium where it works for us and the small percentage of people who are buying it and supporting the cosmetic stuff and stuff like that. Let it work for our side and the developer side and the publisher side, because they need to make their money, and it's not going to change. I don't want to see games like $90, like, you know, start going up to $90 because they just cost that much to make, and prices are coming down on these games so quickly. So there needs to be a balance between the microtransactions and loot boxes and, you know, the rest of us out here. And I think some of the games have gotten it right. I think Overwatch gets it pretty right. I think Heroes of the Storm is another decent example of how to do it. And yes, real quick, we all want this to go back to how it used to be, right? We all want this to be back on like the PS2 or the Xbox days where you would just unlock these things. You would unlock these cosmetic things. But there's a problem with that. One, like I said, games are way too expensive. Two, a lot of these games are trying to be live as a service now. They want these games to not just be, hey, I released it 2 months later, we're releasing another one, and you can forget about that game. No, they want to make these games because they spend so much money and time on it. They want these games to, you know, last for a while because games take 3, 4, 5 years to make. So if you're a semi-smallish company or even the big companies and you're releasing 3 games a year, they can't just sometimes rely on like the first month sales and that's it. They want to be able to generate money after that. They just need to not do it in such a selfish and greedy way. Like I said, there needs to be a happy medium. Make us happy and make them happy. I guarantee you, if you do it the right way, less people are going to complain. You're still going to have the random people complain. But less people will complain, and you'll also have the people who are going to support you. Like I said, if Star Wars were to release the way that it is now, and maybe it will still happen, we'll see how many people jump back on, it would have been a different game. People would have saw the cosmetics, and they would have been like, oh crap, I can change Darth Vader to this, I can have that, I can have this. Because Star Wars fans are crazy. They would have bought that stuff, and the game is actually pretty fun. And it's a lot better because there's more content than there was in the first game. Promise of all the free TLC that's going to be releasing in Season 2. And they're still promising, they just said a couple days ago, that there's going to be new modes that we haven't experienced before that's going to be very different to what was there before. So I look forward to that. Rainbow Six is doing a decent job with their stuff. Like I said, Blizzard seems to be doing a decent job with the cosmetic stuff. So publishers, keep it cosmetic. If you're going to do loot boxes, make sure it's cosmetic. If you're going to not do loot boxes and make it even better, let us just outright buy the content that we want and let it be cosmetic. That's also fine. We know you guys need the support. Well, not all of us, but some of us know you need the support because, the drive of games and how much they cost and how long they take to make is just how it is. So, guys, that is my discussion for today. I wanted to give you guys my thoughts about that because there's just been crazy stuff going on all the time. Leave a comment below if you guys have any discussions or want to mention anything I said. I have no problem going back and having a discussion with you guys as long as it's, an actual discussion, not just like, screw loot boxes, and that's it. And that's all you guys do. All right, guys. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in for this discussion, and I can't wait for the next one. Thank you.
UrGamingTechie is the gaming tech. UrGamingTechie, gaming tech. Eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. UrGamingTechie is the gaming tech. UrGamingTechie.